Hi, this is Chuck Oliver. Welcome to this week's Taxes Saved Case of the Week. Now, this is a continuation from last week where we talked about the client that we helped reduce and get actually a little over a 500% return on investment with a $30,000 out-of-pocket investment, was able to save over $150,000 in taxes. And then this is a continuation to then what is the long-term impact of what we call the cost of waiting calculation that you're about to see. So what I want to make sure, if you're new to Taxes Saved, be sure to register for our cases of the week, because this is a continuation and this is about Roth conversion, and it's saving people. Literally, this is $1 million example, and this client has now since come back, and we're attacking even more of the Roth conversion. But just this one decision to make, why he's already a high income earner, right? This is where when people are told, "Oh, well, you don't want to do Roth conversion. You already pay a lot of taxes on your income." Well, that's true if you don't have a plan around tax savings. So taxessaved.com. But let's get into it, Davis.
Yeah, no, it's funny you mentioned all that, Dad, about the importance of Roth conversion. I just hung with a client, um, very similar scenarios. He's like, how do I save on the conversion, right? And so we were just talking about this before we recorded this, but or doing it here live, is that really, the people that have the highest active earned income are people that should be using strategies, getting active deductions to bring back down their income and getting as much as they can out of those high brackets, right? It's the ample time to use strategy to do Roth conversion. So here we'll show that today. I think this is great. Like you said, the first year tax savings for that client that we covered last week was $150,000. First year tax savings on a $30,000 investment. What's exciting about this is the long-term plan is even more of an ROI for this client on that $30,000 investment. And so we'll show that here. So pull my screen up here. And so everyone should be seeing on the left again that return that's familiar from last week. And if you didn't go see it, go check out last week's case study of the week. And you'll see here, right, that they did 525,000 here on line 4B of Roth conversion, right? Well, that client, what you didn't know is they had, and still have, they've come back this year and done more of this strategy because it's done so well for them. As you'll see here, they had $1 million in tax deferred about when we started helping them, right, in last year. And so there you'll see this analysis shows the cost to wait, right? If these clients did nothing, how much tax would they pay over the life of this from RMD taxes, meaning required minimum distributions, all the way to legacy tax, what they're going to leave their inheritors, which for them was not what they wanted to do, and a big reason why they put this plan into action of legacy tax. And so here, this money is assumed growing at 8%, this $1 million in this analysis. And their tax rate conservatively is always going to be about 32%. They're divesting out of real estate consecutively. They have dividend income, W-2 income, right? It's never ending. So here under that scenario, we're about to show a big ugly number here on the left, keeping this qualified account, right? That if they just wait for RMDs for this client, that's another 10 years from now at age 75, where they have to face this required minimum distribution. This shows the taxes paid. This analysis kills everyone off at age 90. So for this client from age 75 to 90, the taxes paid under this analysis on their RMDs alone, as this money compounds, is $817,000 of taxes. And then the big cardinal sin we see for a lot of clients is they don't even need the RMD. They have other income, right? As this client does here. So they go reinvest it in a brokerage account, just giving them more tax and dividend tax, which is showing that here. So another 340. That could be skewed. The client might spend it all, not spend it all. Either way, this is an ugly number, as you'll see we'll get to. And then the last one is always the worst tax, the legacy tax, right? Over the next 35 years or 25 years, how does this money compound? Well, the rules stand right now. The inheritor, being their kids of these accounts, is going to have 10 years to spend it down, and it's all taxed on whatever their earned income tax rates are. And that who's to know what that is in 25 years from now, right? So that could be a whole lot worse, in other words. All in on $1 million doing nothing, they would have paid 2.1 million and change of taxes over the next 25 years of compounding and growth risk in this tax deferred environment. So now let's get to the exciting news, right? They Roth converted, as you see here, 525,000. What did that do in decreasing this 2.1 million? You'll see here, right? Same variables, just $525,000 less, as you see, because we converted it from that million. Same variables, same tax rate, same growth rate. But here's the big reveal, as you saw on my screen. We went from 2.1 to just over $1 million of long-term taxes. A $30,000 investment with this last year's strategic Roth conversion of 525 saved them over $1.1 million of lifelong taxes on these accounts conservatively, right? So 30,000 to save 150 in the first year of taxes they would have had to pay otherwise. Well, that sounds like a no-brainer for most. But then the biggest no-brainer is this long term. If you care about what tax risk you leave your legacy or truly what you leave for yourself for this client in the next 10 years, you truly need to get together and meet with our tax planning team to see if a Roth conversion makes sense and see what strategy is best and is most suitable for your needs.
In fact, for those that go to taxessave.com, that's taxessave.com, there you have an opt-in opportunity for the one big beautiful bill, the outcome, the obstacles, and excuse me, the opportunities and the obstacles. Because remember, permanent doesn't mean permanent, right? It used to be permanent that you had a stretch IRA, et cetera. So the government can challenge these things, and the new Congress can obviously change things. So when you think about the midterms, you think about Trump not getting a third term. We've got about 18 to 30, we'll call it 36 months, just about maybe 42. It's about 18 to 42 months that like this client doing coming back and doing more. We'll eventually have everything move from IRA to Roth IRA,
Yeah.
but it sometimes takes specific tax years in order to get that done. So while you know, and while it grows, you want to make sure that that 525 now that would have created another $1 million, almost 1.1 million of more tax liability is now going to be tax free. But at the same time, the ability to do that while we know what is technically today permanent that may not stay permanent. So go to taxessave.com. That's taxessave.com and be sure that you learn how you can be a low tax or a no tax retiree.